White here, and I love what we're going to be doing today. So, got a friend of mine, Nick Magiera, who's also in our Freedom Club, and Nick is in the basic Chicago area, Chicagoland. And dude, Nick, what you have done is just nothing short of remarkable, and that you have gone from, and man, I say this in all respect, kind of struggling to I mean, truly like superstar status in what may be record time. And so what we're going to do today is you're going to kind of walk us through it and say, dude, how did you, as our first slide shows here, how did you go from one deal to 24 deals in your pipeline in just 60 days? And I just want to make sure that we clarify that we're not saying 24 closings this month. We're saying that you have 24 closings set up for like this month and next. So we're talking about going from like one deal a month, maybe two deals, to doing like 12 closings per month. Do I have that right?
Yep, you got that right.
Right, cool.
And it's, we've had some closings, and then, so it was actually a little bit more than 24. It's just, that's what I got in my pipeline today. So,
all right.
That's what
Awesome.
it is.
Awesome. Cool. All right, brother. Well, dude, why don't you take it away, man, and just show us how you did. Tell us what we're going to be talking about and show us how you did. And I'm going to kind of,
Yeah.
I might have a question here and there, but man, I'm just going to kind of let you run through this.
Yeah, no, sounds good. So, it's one of those things where I'm sure there's a lot of different ways to do this. And, I know that my coach, Kellen Vaughn, he was a pretty integral part of this and the game plan behind this. And so a lot of this, I learned from other people, and there's no need to reinvent the wheel. So, for people that are kind of in a similar situation I was 60 days ago, hopefully you can have some takeaways, and people that are already at 24 or even 48 deals right now, hopefully there's some other takeaways you can do as well, because it's a pretty cool approach we're doing right now. So basically, what we're going to be covering throughout this is, first things first. I'm a big believer that you cannot do this all yourself. So that is the first step. Is swallow your pride. You got to get some help, and so we'll be going through my team. So right now we got a loan partner, freedom caller, and a DSP manager. We'll go through the specific functions that they actually serve each day, what their day-to-day job actually is, and the whole idea behind this is that they're doing the job, and they'll do it 100% of the time, so that it always gets done. Because if it was you, you might do it one day, you might do it another day, but you're not going to be doing it 100% of the time. And it's funny, as I say that, right now I actually have a little bit of a cold, and the past 2 days I've been in bed. So, it was very, very, very cool and encouraging seeing our team actually still functioning. We had a closing yesterday, and, we actually had two clear closes happen yesterday as well, all while I was in bed. So, that's, I highly can't stress enough, we need to get help. And then I'm going to go into what the next steps are from here. So obviously, 24 is not the be-all, end-all. That is, just a stepping stone, and there's definitely a plan of what to do from here and how we increase that further. So first things first, who actually am I? So I'm, again, my name is Nick Magiera. I'm in the Chicagoland area, and believe it or not, I have been in the industry now less than 2 years. It's been less than a year and a half, actually. And I would say my bio on my website, generic bio, mortgage banker by trade, Nick Magiera, epitomizes. You can tell my wife wrote this, by the way, because that's not a word I use. So,
I don't even know what it means.
Epitomizes, yeah, integrity, hard work, creative service, and every detail of a real estate transaction. And Nick is a family man with a devotion to God, his beautiful wife, and his adorable Bernese mountain dog. AKA, guys, I'm just a normal person. There's nothing different that I do or that I possess in me that not every single person can do. And so this is literally a step-by-step, just copy exactly what I did, and I promise you're going to see very, very similar results, if not better, just because we know that there's better salesmen out there, and we know that there's just, it's one of those things where you don't even have to be a good salesman to do this even. It's just, you just put the places in because a lot of it's done for you. So anyway, yeah, we'll get into it. How did I actually
I got a quick question.
So quickly?
I got a quick question for you, though. So if 90 days ago somebody would have said, "Hey man, you're going to go from a couple closings a month to 12 closings a month. Dude, would you have even believed that 90 days ago? Or maybe you would, but did you imagine
Yeah.
that?
So before I had the game plan, no, it really is unimaginable. It was very, very, very exciting for me to create this game plan, and I mean, literally, I wrote this down on paper, and I had to present this just because you'll see as I go through this, I needed some help from my company, and so I kind of had to pitch it to them to get permission to even go about this, and so I did imagine it. And anybody who's in this situation right now, I mean, this is it. Just write down the game plan, and you can imagine it too. This is real. So yeah.
So I know you're getting ready to go into step one here,
Yep.
but dude, I think you have a new step one. Like your step one.
Yeah.
If we're not pitching any company, I'm not even going to mention their name, and you're welcome to, of course, to show appreciation to who you work for. But I have no affiliation with them. So did you? So I guess step one was getting your company to go on board with what you're getting ready to show us. Like you talk about going and getting all of these assistants and whatnot. And that must have been an interesting talk. I mean, here you are, just being honest. Closing 1 or 2 loans a month. You go, all right, guys, I need a team together, and I bet that was an interesting talk.
It definitely was, and it's even more interesting just because of how young I actually am and how new I actually am to this. And so, it wasn't that long ago when literally I was calling 1003s 1003, and everyone always bugs me about that too because they all remember. And so, and that's kind of the joke with our company is they call it the 1003, the 1003. So it was one of the things where I knew it was definitely something I had to prepare for. It wasn't just oh yeah, we're going to do this. This was a very thought out game plan that I revised a few times, to be honest. And so it's one of those things where one of the big things that I believe is you choose to be with what company you're with. And if your company doesn't believe in you, especially when you have a game plan that's going to increase your business, and this is a proven business plan too. It's not just something that's just a new idea. This is something that other people have done in the past, and we just kind of copied. And if your company isn't behind you on that, it might be time to just start looking at a different company. I'm not even going to pitch my company either, just because there's a lot of good companies out there. It's one of those things where I just believe you got to be with people that believe in you. And so, I might as well. Yeah, I work for Leader One Financial. Brent Duhame, he's the big orchestrator behind all this. So if you guys are in a situation right now where you're just like, man, my company just isn't behind me, he is definitely the guy to talk to. And he's gonna help you through this.
Yeah. Yep. And Brent's a friend of mine, so he's a stand-up dude. So. All right, man. So, once we get somebody to believe in us and take the step, and if you're on your own, if you're a broker, hell, you're the guy, you're the lady that approves this. So just have faith in yourself and step out and make it happen. So let's talk about step one, man. What's the next step?
Yeah. So step one, first thing you got to do is hire a loan partner. So essentially, there's different names for a loan partner. You can loan assistant, there's all different names for them. So basically, what they are is they're your replacement for the file. They're going to replace you with actually talking to the home buyer, and essentially, they're going to be the person that the home buyer is going to for questions. And the beauty behind this is that you can step yourself away from your file, and you can do things that actually generate more business rather than just being on your computer and crunching numbers all day, essentially, and putting out fires. So this loan partner, their general duties are really, to be with the home buyer from the absolute start of the file all the way to the finish. So they're actually going to be taking in their application. They're going to be collecting the documents. They're going to be structuring the file, pre-approving the borrowers, sending over disclosures, locking the rate, collecting conditions, working with the processor to, clear all the conditions, and actually, set the closing and explain all the numbers. They also, this is a very big part, one of their roles is to actually update the home buyers and update the agents, and we're an attorney state, so update the attorneys as well. at least a weekly basis, and that way you're not just talking the talk. The walk is actually being walked, because one of the biggest complaints that that agents and attorneys actually have is that they don't know what's going on, and so as long as that's actually getting taken care of and they're actively being reached out to and communicated with and what's going on with the file, and it's one of those things where, especially me, it's like, all right, this has to be me doing this. And it doesn't. It's just like the doctor that you go to a doctor's appointment, and one of the doctor's assistants actually called you ahead of time to set that appointment up. You go to the doctor and you talk to the nurse for an hour, and then you talk to an admin assistant, and then the doctor comes in for 1 minute, and then you talk to the nurse again, and then you talk to the admin assistant, and then someone else follows up with you after everything is said and done. And it was all on behalf of the doctor, but the doctor actually didn't do anything. And so that's we consider business in an identical way, where it's all on behalf of you. And so my assistants are always saying, "Oh, Nick asked me to give you a call and say yada yada yada." And so that's the big thing that especially when you're hiring, you just have to get that terminology in, where they're an extension of you. So every phone call, every email, it's always, "Nick asked me to do this to you," and it's essentially going to be the same thing as if you did it yourself. The job is going to get done.
And go back to the other slide just for a second. That one, the one where the one we were just on, that one, right? No, that one, step one. On step one here, and some people might be just listening to this as a as a recording, or we might put just the audio up, but we're going through this. Anyway, so my question is, here on the slide, for those of us that's watching this today, you have update agents every Tuesday, update bars every Wednesday, and call house hunter leads on Friday. And on the slide here, you got those kind of bolded out. What's the purpose of those being in red? Is there something special about those three actions that the loan partner does?
So, well, there's 5 actions that they're the staple of our business. And as you get, there's 5 days in the week, there's 5 things that get done every single Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So I'll get more into our Monday and Thursday of what we're doing as we go here. The DSP manager, as I get to that, they're the ones who are doing that for me. They're the staple things that actually get done, and we want to make sure that gets done 100% of the time, every time. And so update agents, that's the no-brainer, right? We all think that we're going to do that. We all think we're going to be doing that all the time, but we just don't. We get a file in, and we might update the agent one time. We might update the agent 2 times, but it's one of those things where if you have someone else doing it, this is their daily job, and we time set it, and so to time block it. And so it's, every Tuesday between 9 and 11, every one of our agents is going to get a call on Tuesday. And they're going to get an update in the file and say, "Hey, Mr. Agent, Jane Doe at 123 Main Street, we just ordered their appraisal, and we're waiting on the approval, and, we'll give you an update if you have any questions. Oh, by the way, do you have anybody else that you're working with right now that we can help pre-approve for you?" And so a part of these calls is also a lead generation tactic for you to bring in more business. And so one of the big things about this loan partner is, it seems like an expense, especially when you don't have any money yet up front. It's like, I've done one deal, and now I have to get this, this assistant. It's just not going to make sense. You can't think like that. You really have to think, and it is going out of your comfort zone at first, and you really have to think this is going to be an asset to your business. This is not a liability. This is not, something that's going to hold you back. This is something that's going to bring you more business in the end, because they're actually going to be making sure the communication is done 100% of the time, as well as actually asking for business and bringing in more business by just asking. So that, this is important. Yeah.
And what would you, and also just be for 100% clarification, this is a licensed person, is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
And obviously, And, obviously to lock rates and, to even talk about that stuff, they have to be licensed. Now, there is an option to do it without a licensed person. And that's, so that's, I've done this, and I've done it the wrong way on certain things. So what I'm teaching right now is the right way to do things.
Yeah.
So my loan partner right now actually is not licensed in my state. You're going to be paying them the same, so get them licensed. Make sure they're licensed in your state, because if they're not licensed, all of a sudden they can't lock rates, and they can't be fully upfront with all the numbers and explain everything with borrowers. So that's the criteria. They have to be licensed.
Yeah, and I know what might be entering some people's minds is people say, well, gee, if you want something done right, I need to do this myself. So if we're structuring the deal, we're locking the rate, we're sending disclosures, we're talking with the client. They only want to talk to me, and if I want everything done right, I have to do it myself. And I've always thought, boy, it's a good thing that Bill Gates didn't feel that way, or you and I wouldn't be on, having a PowerPoint right now. And it's a good thing that Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak didn't think that way, because I'm using an Apple computer to host this today. And so it's a good thing they didn't think you have to do everything. You're going to keep yourself really small doing it that way, aren't you?
Exactly. And so, one of the things that we learned is if you can get this in your head, and it is real, I promise you, because it's worked for me. If someone can do a job just 80% as good as you, because here's the thing, you're you. And, Carl White, you're pretty special. No one has the skills that Carl White has, so no one can do what Carl White does. But if someone can do just something just 80% as good as Carl White at one task, and they make sure that task is done 100% of the time, it's going to be better than Carl doing, that task just 50% of the time, and all of a sudden he's not, it's just not getting done. So you just got to make sure that this stuff is getting done 100% of the time. And what you'll find is that they're just 80% as good as you at first, but all of a sudden, and that 80%, that 20% that they're missing, no one's going to recognize that other than you. You're the only person, just because you like things your particular way. But what happens is over time, that person's doing it 100% of the time, and eventually they actually will be doing it 110% compared to what you're just 100%, just because it's actually getting done, and that's all they do. They focus on that, and they're going to get a lot better than you ever would.
Yeah, good for you, man. I like that. So let's talk about John here.
Yep. So this is John. This is my current loan partner. We actually very exciting. Yesterday, we interviewed someone we were about to hire. So we're pretty excited. There's going to be another John. So John, the salary for a proper licensed loan assistant, anywhere from $48,000 to about $65,000 on a very high end. So you're really thinking $48,000, for a really first hire. That seems like a lot of money, $48,000, especially if you're doing one or two deals a month, or a deal every other month. That's a lot of money, and you can't think of it as $48,000. You have to think of it as a monthly basis. So what $48,000 actually means is $4,000 a month. That first month, maybe the second month, there's going to be a business expense that you have, and just because in our business it takes 2 months or so to really get going. After you implement something. So $4,000, that's 1 to 2 to 3 deals, depending on your market. And what we're doing, we went from 1 to 24 deals in just 60 days. So that easily is going to be paying for that $4,000 and more. And that John is actually bringing in more business because he's actually asking for the business as well on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And so that's the biggest thing you got to get in your head. Think of it as a monthly expense, and then think of it as a per loan expense. How many loans do I have to do to actually pay for this person? And I really believe you got to try something for at least 3 months before you give it up. Because what happens is, and I probably should have made this in the slide, what happens is you get really excited, you finally find a John, and you bring him on, and all of a sudden, a week later, 2 weeks later, you're thinking, oh, I got to pay this guy now, and no extra loans have come in, and all of a sudden, you start dipping. And, you're at the high end of the roller coaster, and all of a sudden, you start going down. And, it's just our nature. We just kind of get a little freaked out a little bit. So, one of the big things you got to know ahead of time is that is going to happen. There is going to be a little dip. There's going to be a little freak out. You have to get past it. And, $4,000 in the grand scheme of things, I promise you, you will get past that, and it will. You can't move forward unless you get this help. And so this is one of those things. It's just an obstacle you got to get past. And so, you just gotta almost close your eyes on the downhill of the roller coaster and just let it ride out, because it will ride out for the better. You're going to be okay. So in my particular case, so that that's one way to go about it. For the $48,000. in my particular case, I had my business plan. I talked to Brent Duham and I presented it, and he absolutely loved it. And he goes, "Hey, let's think about how we can actually do this and minimize that going down slope on the roller coaster a little bit." And so we basically got together and we said, okay, how about we just take less basis points per deal, per transaction, and Brent actually invested into me, and he said, okay, I'm going to actually do this. We're going to bring on this loan partner for you, and you're just going to take less of a basis point per deal, and so it's going to be a higher cost for me up front, but in the end, he knows that, he believed in the business plan, he believed in me, and that's how we actually structured it. Carl, is that a common thing? Would you recommend people actually doing that, or is that a unique thing?
Dude, 1,000 times I would. Yeah. So in essence, and so we're just going to throw out some numbers here, just for example. So this is not a quote. This is not, I'm getting ready to talk about basis points here. So everybody, some people get paid 50, some 100, some 150, some 300, depending upon your particular situation. So let's just use a basic example, and we're not quoting Nick's, but let's give a basic example that you're making 125 basis points from your company. Let's just say, just using that as a number. Yep. So as a, quote, one man or one woman loan shop, you're making 125. So what I'm hearing you say, what you and Brent did is, you made it so you went from 125 down to 100, but now instead of getting 125 of one or two deals, you're getting 100 basis points on 12. And it goes back to that we talk about, do you want 100% of a grape or 50% of a watermelon? And and that's a hard thing for people to swallow sometimes. So yeah, I think that's a great idea, especially in your case where you went, dude, just being honest, you didn't have the $4,000 a month to pay John.
No.
And so I think it's a great way to set up. I do.
Yeah, and kind of what I did in my business plan is I literally got I don't recommend you guys doing this. This is a last resort. I got a 0 APR credit card where I could take cash out, and that's like, all right, this is how I'm going to pay this guy. And then when I explained the plan to Brent, he's like, all right, you know what? This is a great plan. This is how we're going to structure this. This is a much better way to do it. And so so then you're at the problem of, okay, I'm sold this, I'm going to be doing this. How do I actually find this person? So there's a couple different ways. One way is ask that manager. And so for me, the way I found John actually is I just said, okay, here's the plan. How do we find this person? He said, you believe it or not, I got someone up my sleeve. And we made the connection. I think it was like the next day he was brought on. So it was a quick thing for me. John actually, he was already employed at Leader One. He was someone who he knows product and pricing, he knows guidelines, he knows what he's doing. He's not really the cheetah going out for all the business though. He was kind of actually where I was. But he was happy at doing one, maybe two a month, sometimes 0 a month. He wasn't really, there was no strive to do more essentially. And so it ended up being it's a perfect natural thing. For me in my entrepreneur mind, I always think like, who in the right mind would take on a salary, and forego making, X amount of money what we could make. And there is a lot of people in there, and that, it goes into a lot of disc profile traits, and I don't go into that here, but, that's for a whole nother talk, essentially. But there is people just naturally, and just, maybe in their life, circumstances for that period of time, it just makes sense for them to just go into salary and just get out of the rat race. And so there's a lot of people that are actually out there. So ways to find them. Number one, just actually post on Indeed. I recommend doing a paid post. What I've done in the past is done $200 and then made it set per click to $1, no more than $1. And that's generated quite a lot. I've done Facebook posts, LinkedIn messages. There's a really good LinkedIn recruiting video from Scott Hedbeth and on marketing animals. So reach out to him if you can't find that. Especially for this first one, ask people who have done it before. Just because you're going to want to get their advice and their expertise, because again, we don't want to reinvent the wheel here, and we want to mitigate our liabilities here. And so Yeah. So, any questions with this, or can I move on, Carl?
Let's move on. It reminds me though. You talk about reaching out and copying people and finding what they're doing. I know, you already gave him kudos. With Kellen Vaughn, who had a remarkable story. He's one of our Freedom Club coaches. Where I saw something the other day. It said, if you want to learn how to drive a Ferrari, stop talking to people that have Toyotas. And that's just a great thing. Is make sure that when you're talking with people, you're talking to somebody that's where you want to be, or is in the direction where you want to go. So cool. All right. So you offloaded everything to John. Now let's talk about what was the next thing. Like, how did you bring new business in now? Because you got a lot of free. You got a lot of free time now.
Yeah, exactly. So now, what do you do with it the day? But the problem is you have that expense. All of a sudden there's someone relying on you for their income as well as your income, and you have your family. And so, but there's a different feeling when there's an employee actually relying on you to bring in their business. And so, if you don't have the drive yourself, there will be drive there because, again, you're at the tippy top of that roller coaster on the downslope. And so, there's definitely a drive to bring in more business. So how do we actually do that? So there's a couple different ways to go about this. Basically, what has to get done, or what we've done, is we hired someone to do this. But you don't have to hire someone to do this technically. I did because that's my entrepreneurial mindset. But this is essentially what we did. We got a list of all the homes that were sold in our area within the last 3 months. You guys asked, okay, how do we actually do that? And there is ways to do it. Carl, can I go into that, or should I just
Absolutely.
That?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so all I did is I just asked a real estate agent that I'm friends with, hey, there's this access to this information in MLS. You just go in there and print it out, and make it within a 10-mile radius of my office here. And so they did that. I had it the next day, and I had a list of all the real estate agents, or all the homes that have been sold within the past 3 months. So that list also includes what the buyer's agent was on that deal, what the seller's agent was on that deal. In our state, it lists what the attorney was on that deal. It lists the mortgage company. It lists the home price. It lists the address. It's an unbelievable list. So for us, we want to get business from real estate agents. That's where that was really our plan here. We're not going out and we're not buying leads from Zillow or Trulia or any of those things. We want relatively easy referral leads. We don't that was our bread and butter that we wanted to do. So the plan we just got to meet more real estate agents that actually have people that can refer us business. So we went to this list. We took a look at it, and we deleted any agent on there that didn't do at least one buyer's deal a month. And the reason behind that is because, as we all know, there is a billion different real estate agents out there, and we only want to work with. We want to, just like Carl said, you don't want to spend your time with the guy who's driving the jalopy. You want to be with the guy who knows what he's doing, who actually is successful already. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time. And so, you only want to work with people that are doing at least one deal a month. That way, your time is being well spent.
And how do you verify that? How do you verify? How do you know how many deals you're doing per month?
Well, you can actually look on this list. And so we have this list of all the homes that have been sold. It tells us who the buyer's agents are. First off, we delete all the seller's agents, because if someone's selling 5,000 homes a month, that's 0 buyers lead that they're actually sending out. And so we don't really care about the seller's agents. We just go for buyer's agents.
Yeah. So the listing agents you're not concerned about is strictly the buyer's agent.
Exactly.
And you can pull that information right off of MLS. And if you don't have access to MLS, appraisers, title companies, realtors do pull a favor out on somebody.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it has it in there, and you can see all the homes that are sold. You see how many buyer's agents there are, how many deals that they've done in the past 3 months. You want at least 3 if you did a list in the past 3 months. So essentially, that's what we did. And then from there, we just had our list, and it has their phone number, and we just called them. And so the call it's a very easy call. I'll go into the script. I think the script is on the next slide. But basically, that's one way to go about that if you want to do the work yourself. Now, I've done this before, and what happened to me is just like I was saying before. I did it the first day. I did it the second day. I probably did it the first week. That second week came around, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Or maybe I just had a little bit of success, and I think, okay, I'm good. I'm done with this. You can't do that. This has to be done 100% of the time, every time. And so what I did is I hired someone. We call them a freedom caller. Essentially, they're just a cold caller. And they actually reached out to these buyer's agents, and they set up meetings for me. So I'll kind of go in. I think the next slide is who my cold callers are. But I gave them a quota. And, I say on the slide here 3 meetings a day because that's what I recommend. I told them my quota was 4 meetings a day. And my cold callers, believe it or not, they would set me 5 meetings a day sometimes. If I had 3 meetings a day, that was on the very low end. And I have to say, doing 4, 5, even doing 3 meetings in one day, you are just absolutely drenched. It is very, very energy consuming because you're always you have to be on. And so I recommend keeping it at 3 meetings a day. Otherwise, it's going to be one of those things where all your energy is going to be spent. And I did this for a while at 5 meetings a day, 4 meetings a day, and I ended up having to cut them back just because there was just too much going on and they were setting up too many meetings. Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to go on the next slide here and just talk a little bit about them. So this is my freedom callers, Jody and Michelle. So I actually have 2. You don't need to have 2. You just really need 1. And how I pay them. It can be anywhere from $4 to $12 an hour. The way that it's so cheap at $4, you can actually probably get lower than $4 an hour. You can probably do maybe $3.50 an hour. And the way you do that is through a Filipino virtual assistant. That was actually who my first 2 freedom callers were. The way that I found them was at the bottom there. It says virtualstafffinder.com. It's a pretty cool site. We're not affiliated with them at all, but basically you pay them $500 up front, and you tell them what you're looking for, what kind of employee that you're looking for in the Philippines. They then take that, they find who you're looking for, and you hire them as your employee. And so that's what I did originally, and they did set up meetings, and there was a bit of integrity issues, and with my first one, so I had to get rid of them. My second one I brought on, and they ended up having a child, and so we ended up having to let them go as well. And so I ended up, eventually going with the Americans. But there's a bunch of different ways to go about this, and this is one of those things. It's not a full-time role, and so this is literally how I found my Americans. It's just a simple Facebook post saying, "Hey, I need help. Does anybody have a few extra hours in the day that want to make some extra cash?" I just happen to have some friends that and Jody and Michelle, and they said, "Yeah, we do." And so so they actually will do the calls for me, and they set meetings for me. So their hours, they work a collective amount of 6 hours a day. So they split it up into 3 hours each. If you have just one after interviewing these girls, and they do a phenomenal job, I really recommend that you set it. If you just have one freedom caller, I wouldn't do more than 3 or 4 hours a day. If you have them do 8 hours a day, if you guys talk all day, every day, all of a sudden, just the first couple of hours, maybe the first couple of calls, you're very excited, it's a very good call, and then you just really drop down from there in energy level. So really, for me, we kind of found that 3 hours for them was really the sweet spot. If they did 4 hours, they were kind of drained. And so the good thing about having someone else do it again is that it's a smaller expense, but they will set you meetings. In my experience, they set me anywhere from 3 to 5 meetings a day, and I didn't have to set up that meeting at all. And so, do you want me to expand a little bit more on this?
No, I think we covered that. Let's talk about what they say to set these meetings.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is our general script, and we've experienced with a couple different ways that they could do this, but this is the general one. It's, "Hi, Mr. Agent, this is Jody from the Magiera Mortgage team, and hey, how are you doing?" Just getting them to talk. "Okay, awesome. Well, hey, Nick Magiera just asked me to give you a call and just said that he's just heard awesome things about you and your team, and we would just love to treat you to a cup of coffee and hear exactly what you're doing. Are you available next Wednesday at noon?" That's it. It's one of those things where we found it's either a yes or a no. and or it's I'm busy, and that's a lot of times there's an excuse going on. So yeah, that is the general script. There's no magic formula or anything like that. It just has to get done. And so whether that's you actually doing this or whether you hire someone to do it, it has to get done. And again, I highly recommend that you hire someone to do it so it's done all the time. This is an example. Yeah, so this is an example of kind of the spreadsheet that we have here. And so this is the sheet that I sent them that I said, okay, these are the people we want you to call. And then I told them, this is your sheet. You manage it from here. And, as long as you're setting meetings, I'm happy. I don't really care who they are as long as they're on this sheet. And so this is how they actually did it. And it's a really good system, I think. So basically, if they called that agent and they said, no, don't call back, they mark them as red, meaning don't call them back. And then, you see the third one down, Cindy Patterson. So they have not even got in touch with her yet. They've left 3 voicemails. They put in their notes, and the notes are on the right side. They put on the notes, and, they're going to keep calling. They call every single week. So how my girls do it, and different people structure this differently, how my girls do it is we have this big list, and they call new people that they haven't called before on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Then on Thursdays and Fridays, they're calling the people that are in the orange bracket here. The people that either they just left a voicemail, or the people that said, I'm busy right now, call back next week, or the people that just said, I'm not interested right now. And our Freedom callers, they responded by saying, are you okay if we follow up from time to time to see if another week is better? And that person said, yeah, sure. And so the oranges are the repeat calls, and they're going to be calling them every Thursday and Friday, and different people set this up differently. Then the greens are the people that they successfully got meetings with. And so this is just kind of how they actually track it. The reason that we call back more than once is because obviously, if someone's calling you and they call you one time, it's easy just to leave a voicemail. If they're calling every single week and leaving voicemail after voicemail, consistently, persistently following up, there's more of a chance you're actually going to get a meeting with them. And those are the people you really want meetings with, because they're the people that, they're doing business, and, it's going to be harder to get meetings with those people. So, that's essentially how we structure this. So once they actually set a meeting, I'll kind of go into that in the next couple slides here of what kind of happens from there.
Okay.
But basically, the way that we've structured this is, so kind of step back. So we have our Freedom callers setting meetings. We have our loan partner working with our borrowers. So then right now, your role is to go to these meetings as well as follow up with the realtors and continue to get business from them. So for me, that was one too many roles. And so I took another hire, and I hired what we call a DSP manager, or another word is a client relations manager. And DSP stands for Daily Success Plan. And so it's self-explanatory what the role is. Essentially, they're doing the daily tasks that we need to do in order to be successful. So they, what I have my DSP manager doing is they're actually working with the Freedom callers to schedule the appointments. They are calling agents every Monday asking for business. They're texting agents every Thursday asking for business. They're writing 3 handwritten notes a day. They write their monthly handwritten notes to everybody, and as well as just general office duties. And there's a bunch of things that they actually do, and I'll go through step by step exactly what they do in our follow-up of when we actually get a meeting. Now, the big reason, again, that we brought on this DSP manager is because, as you see these tasks here, when you are out doing 3 to 5 meetings with realtors a day, you don't have time to do these things. You don't have time to follow up with the people. You really need someone to actually follow up. And again, you might do it, if you're doing it yourself, you might do it 1 week, you might do it 2 weeks. It's very hard to consistently and persistently do it. And so that's why we hired just someone to follow up with them for us.
All right, so let me make sure. Let me follow through with this. Yep. So you got the you hired John to offload everything you're doing with the actual loans in progress. So he doesn't deal with getting business; he takes care of the business end. So that freed you up. You got the Freedom caller. They went on MLS, pulled all the agents that are closing 1 or more deal per month on the buyer side, and your freedom callers, call them up, set up a coffee appointment. You go on the coffee appointment. After the coffee appointment, it's actually your DSP manager that's calling them up on Mondays saying, hey, Nick, enjoyed meeting with you. Who are you working with this week, or who'd you work with over the weekend that Nick can help you with? So the only action that you're taking so far is actually going on the meeting itself. Am I following that right? So the DSP manager is doing all of your post coffee, send us some business follow up calls. Yep. So you know what? I got my little handy dandy calculator beside me here. Dude, get these numbers, man. So, brother, if you're just meeting with 10 agents a week, just 10, right? Not 5 a day. Let's say you schedule 3 a day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That'd be 12. Let's say 2 doesn't show up. So you're meeting with 10. Let's say you take 3 months of vacation a year, 3 months.
Yep.
So that would be 40 weeks that you're meeting with 10 agents a week. Dude, that's 400 agents you're meeting one-on-one. And we're not talking about so-so agents. We're talking about the movers and the shakers. We're talking about people who have a buyer closing every single month. You're meeting with 400 of those people. Dude, if 1 out of 4 sends you business, that's 100 closings a month. But let's say you're not even getting the 1 out of 4. Let's say you're getting 1 out of 10 of the ones that you meet with. Right? Not all the ones they're calling on, just the ones that you meet with. If 1 out of 10 of those people start sending you business, dude, that's 40 closings a month. That's impressive.
Yep. So just to give you a number, in 2 months, I wish I had the exact number in my head, but I want to say it was 153 agents that I actually met in two months. So it was, and that is to the extreme. Everyone, I really do not recommend doing that, because there was a big crash after I did that, just because I was so mentally drained. So that's why I really recommend don't do more than 3 a day. And again, at this point with this team in place, your only job essentially is just going to these meetings. That's it. And I'll explain what you actually do in the meetings and exactly what the DSP manager is doing to follow up as well.
All right.
So this is my DSP manager. This is Olivia. She is a new college grad, and this is her salary is $35,000 a year, so it's anywhere from $15 to $80 an hour though. For me, it is full time for sure. We could do extra, we would, just because there's so much actually going on that she does. And I found her just on Indeed. I did a simple Indeed posting. I called it a client relations manager, just because no one knows what DSP is other than our industry. And, that was it. I think I did $100 in the Indeed ads that I did. I think I did 50 cents a click, and I got 200 resumes in a week. So it was a very, very quick hire on this one. The freedom caller was a day. I had them hired in a day. The DSP manager, I had them hired within a week, maybe 2 weeks. So it's a very quick hire. And I firmly believe this DSP manager, she is the reason that, there's a lot of different parts obviously moving, but this is a very, very key part, just because she's the one who's actually talking with the clients, and she's the one who's actually mingling with the clients after I actually meet with them. And so she's
the realtors. Yeah, the realtors.
Yeah, and the realtors. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So this is the whole team that we have right now. We're needed to expand it just because we have more business in that needs more help. But this is the general roles. So I manage the team. I go to the meetings and I frog them, and I'll explain what that is. But my essential role is managing and then going to these meetings. John Jones, he's my loan partner. He works with the home buyers from the start of the file to the closing. Olivia, my client relations manager, or DSP manager, she follows up with all the agents and asks for business. And then Jody and Michelle are my freedom callers, and they cold call agents, set up meetings, qualified agents. So that's it right there. And so you see, all of a sudden, when I started, I was doing all of this, but the problem was I was doing it all at 5%. I was doing one thing here and there. With this structure, these things are getting done 100% of the time in the correct way 100% of the time. So, all right, we move on here. Now that you have the team in place, here is exactly what we did to actually bring in more business. And so this is literally the step-by-step, day-to-day of what was going on. So, and I have it outlined at the end of this, just in one slide. It says 1, 2, 3, 4, and it goes through the list. So number one, the Freedom Caller actually calls the agent, sets up the meeting, and then when they actually set the meeting, we use Facebook just because that's easy for us. We're all young and we grew up with it anyway, so that's simple for us. And so our DSP, our Freedom Caller, will message all of us in saying, hey, we have a meeting at this date at this time. Here's the office. Here's where the meeting is. Typically, it's at a coffee place. Sometimes it's at their office. And then what she actually does is she will message us a text message that we're supposed to send to the agent. And the reason that is the Freedom Caller creates this text message is because she's the one who actually talked to the agent. She's the only one who's talked to the agent at this point. And so if we were to create a text message that was just generic, this is just kind of the way that we structured it, just to make sure it's customized to each particular agent that was set. Now, what happens then is, first off, let me back up. The Freedom Caller, we use a system called Ring Central for our phone systems. It's a way that we're all connected together, and we're all calling from the same number. We're all texting from the same number. So our Freedom Caller is calling from our office number, even though, by the way, I didn't get into it. Our Freedom Caller, they live in Michigan, but they're actually overseas right now calling. So they can be anywhere, but they're actually calling from our local office number. Then when they send our DSP manager, Olivia, the meeting details, Olivia copies it, and then we'll text the agent as me and say, just simple like this, hey, just looking forward to meeting you at this date at this time. To your office, all the best, Nick Magiera, with my contact details. And my DSP manager sends that as me from our office number. So then after that, you see here the DSP manager actually sends that text, and then sometimes they'll reply and say, sounds good. Sometimes they don't. Don't worry if they don't reply. But the day of the meeting, the morning of, our DSP manager always contacts every single person we have on our calendar to meet with, and we'll text them just to confirm. That's on the bottom right there. So, hey, Joseph, just confirming our meeting for 1 p.m. today. I put your copy. And they responded, thanks, I'll be there soon. If they don't respond, our DSP manager will call them and just confirm, because we don't want to waste my time going to meetings and having no-shows. Yeah. So since we integrated this, we've had literally 0 no-shows. It doesn't happen with this, just because we're texting them right away after we set the meeting. We're texting them the morning of the meeting. If they don't respond, we don't go, and that's that. And there's enough realtors where we just say, okay, that's that. And again, it happens so rare. So then I actually go to the meeting and I frog the agent. So when I'm at this meeting, my whole focus is having them talk. It's one of those things that we learned where if you go to a meeting and you talk the entire meeting, you leave that meeting thinking that was a great meeting, that was wonderful. When in reality, you were the only person who thinks it was great just because you talked the whole time. So the whole idea is to ask them questions and to get them talking the whole time, because that's the way they're going to be leaving thinking that was a great meeting. So what I have in the back of my mind is the acronym FROG. So I'm asking them questions about their family, about their recreation, their occupation, their goals. So how that actually works is I generally start with occupation. Hey, how did you get into the industry? Get them talking. Why choose that company? Recreation. What do you like doing outside of business? Do you like paddleboarding or whatever it is? And then that generally gets into the family talk. Do they have children? I generally don't ask them if they're married, just because I have before, and it was I think the first time I asked that, they said they're divorced. So I was like, I'm not going to bring up that again. So I generally ask this, and it kind of goes along with recreation. And then we ask about their goals, and we don't just say, hey, what are your goals? What we want to know behind that is what their business plan is right now, and where they're at. So we generally said is, we frame it like this. Hey, I wonder. And say, hey, I'm wondering if, are you happy where you are right now in your business, or are you planning on ramping up, or I'm just wondering, are you pretty settled with what's going on right now? And it's just a non-evasive way to ask them. where they are in their business right now, and how much time we should really spend with them. So that's all I do at the meeting. And then take their business card after the meeting. I text it to my DSP manager, and so my DSP manager has all of their info. That's the only thing I do throughout this entire burn.
Very cool.
The DSP manager then does all of it. She will text the agent, thanking them for the meeting. And so this is after the meeting. She'll text them. Then she also emails them, so they have obviously our phone number to text as well as our email, thanking them for the meeting. And she also lets them know that we put them on our email campaign just to make sure that, and we always say, hey, we just added you to our email campaign with a focus on lead generation. Let us know what you think, just because we don't want to spam them. I sometimes will say, we'd much rather work with you than spam your email. So, let us know what you think, something like that.
Yeah.
She then adds the agent to our email campaign, and we create a custom email campaign just based off of lead generation. A lot of it's it's pretty similar to Agent Mastermind. The DSP manager then, she logs in as me on my Facebook, and this is one thing that I want to point out. Facebook, right now, you are a business owner. Facebook is not your personal thing anymore. It is an extension of your business. Use it as your business. And so my team has all my Facebook details. They log in. Some people might not like that philosophy, but for me, Facebook is an incredible tool that your team can use. And obviously, I still log in, but Facebook is a big time waster. So try not to log in. Have your team do it for you. So they go in. They actually add the agent as a Facebook friend, and then they'll often like their things and comment on their things. The DSP manager then writes the agent a handwritten note thanking them for meeting and looking forward to working with them. They get that about 3 days later, 2 or 3 days later. Then she follows the agent on what we call list reports. And so, do you know what list reports is, Carl?
I don't.
It is awesome. Kellen Vaughn actually told me about this. Essentially, you put in a property and you put in an agent, and within a couple minutes, it creates literally like gorgeous, like 20 different flyers for that property, a whole listing presentation, as well as a website just for that property. It's $50 a month, so it's essentially free. It's so cheap, and we do this. I mean, literally, this is one of a big part of our business. So I recommend you guys at least look into it. I think it's just listreports.com, okay. And it's so cool because you can actually put in the agent's contact details, and List Reports tells you, they'll send you a text and email every time your agent has a new listing. And so you can go in there and say, okay, create a new list report for that property, co-brand it with me, and then we send it to our agents. This is another point of communication. We'll always send it to them. So that's a constant thing that they're doing as well, the DSP manager. DSP manager then will send them a one-thing gift after our meeting. So, not to get too much into the one-thing gift, but basically, when I'm frogging them at that meeting, I'm generally trying to concentrate on one thing that we really connect over. So, if we talk about, recreation, what do they like doing the weekends? If they say, I really like rock climbing, bam, that's my one thing. I love rock climbing, and I try to talk about that as much as I can, because that's our real connection point. We don't want to talk about real estate in the mortgage industry, because that's boring. And so we're just trying to get these people to like us essentially, and see if we like them as well. And so you're trying to connect over something. So if we connected over rock climbing, I would text my DSP manager when I texted the business card, and I would say, hey, send a one-thing gift, a carabiner, saying this little note, looking forward to going to rock climbing with you.
So like, what would you send them in that case? What would you say you sent them?
A carabiner.
I don't know.
It's a little rock climbing tool.
Okay, I got it. So in other words, if you play tennis, you'd send them a thing of tennis balls, so to speak.
Exactly.
These are not $100 items. These are like $5 widgets.
We have a max of $15, and we do this. It's just through Amazon. We have Amazon Prime account, so it's free 2 days shipping. And I just tell my DSP manager, hey, we connected over tennis, and then she figures out the gift.
Gotcha.
You don't have to worry about the details.
Okay.
So we send that a week after, and we don't bring it up after that. 100% of the time, actually not 100% of the time, but very often, more typical than not, they will reach out to us and thank us for the gift. And so one of the big reasons we do that is obviously it's a cool thing to do, but more importantly, not more importantly, but it's, another reason we do it is because it gets them used to reaching out to us, and it's not always just us contacting them. And so that's a big reason we do that. Then a week after that, so 2 weeks after our actual meeting, we send them what's called an All About You page in snail mail with a return envelope. And have you seen an All About You page, Carl?
I have not.
Okay, I'll have to share that with you. I don't have it in the PowerPoint right now. Essentially what it is, it's just a page asking them, it's a little write-up that just says, hey, we love doing business with you and we just like to know more about you. Let us know X, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so it says, what's their favorite hobby? What's their favorite movie? What's their favorite TV show? What do they like doing on the weekends?
So like a little survey.
Exactly, it's just a little survey.
And
when we snail mail it to them.
You snail mail it out, or is it an online thing?
You can do either way. I recommend snail mailing it out because it's another point of contact that they get in the mail. That's always cool to get something in the mail. And then we send a return envelope as well. And so we get the majority of them back.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the reason we do that is, number one, because, it's just another point of contact, but number two, it gives us more points of contact. And so we kind of connected over tennis, but now we know, oh, wow, they also like basketball, they're also like surfing, or, whatever it is. And so, or they also like X, Y, Z wine. And so, it's in the future, more connection points.
Got it.
Yep. Then the DSP manager sends out our agent mastermind email every Friday to our agent. So I believe everyone here knows what Agent Mastermind is. It's just weekly webinars. Then the DSP manager sends out a letter every month to every agent and also every past closing and lead. And then the DSP manager texts or Facebook messages every agent every Thursday asking for business. And then she calls them every Monday asking for business. So in summary, these are kind of 17 things that happen from the start of the meeting to after the meeting. And notice there's some things that are one-time things and other things that are continuous. So the continuous things are they're going to get at least one email every week from us through our email campaign. They're going to get at least one call from us every Monday asking for business. They're going to get at least one text or Facebook message from us every Thursday asking for business. And they're going to get at least one snail mail letter to them every month asking for business.
Dude, I love this. You know what I like best about this? For those of you that's watching this, what I like best about this, my man, is two things. Number one, this is all money. This is all loan getting activity, 100%.
Yep.
It's continuously asking for the business. And then number two, of these 17 things, dude, only 2 of them have your name beside it. Number 4 and number 5. You go to the meeting with the realtor, and then then immediately after that meeting, sitting in the parking lot, you text the DSP manager their business card and a suggestion of the small little widget, that you're going to be sending out. And dude, you're done. That's all you do. That's impressive.
Yep. Now there is, the next slide here. So basically, we call them every Monday, and what we do is we put them on a 15-week calling campaign. And if we don't get business from them within 15 weeks of us bugging them this much, then we're never going to get business.
You let them go.
We say. And so we let them go. And so for me, and different people have different philosophies, and the more we do this, the more I'm getting comfortable with just basically saying the same thing in every call. The basic script is, hey, Mr. Agent, how was your weekend? Did you work or did you play? If they said they played, say, oh, that's so great. It's great to recharge your batteries. Hey, by the way, are you working with anybody right now that, we can help pre-approve for you? They say, yes, great. You write down their number. If they say no, you say, okay, that's fine. Can we count on you to send us your next fire lead? And, they generally say yes. And so that's the general script. If they say, just go back, hey, did you work or did you play? If they say, we worked, you say, oh, great, did you work with anybody that we can help pre-approve for you? And then you go on to the continuous skip from there. And so that's the general call. Now, when I first started implementing this, I got very skittish of saying the exact same thing every week. And so I had it in my mind that I said, okay, you know what? I want narked out exactly what I'm going to say each week, and so it's not the same thing. It just doesn't seem that repetitive. So this is what I mapped out of what we say or what my DSP manager says. Sometimes it's the same, sometimes it's different, and I'm kind of going back on this though, because after doing this, I find it doesn't really matter what we say. It's all about actually doing it and just asking. And so, if you say the same thing every week, that's fine. But I might as well just go through what we've mapped out here. And so here's the 15 different weeks. And so one agent might be on week 10 of the campaign, and one agent might be on week 2, just because we're continually meeting new agents. Yeah. And so those Monday calls, it's different for every agent. So my DSP manager has a file for every agent with notes on what happened that week when she called and texted and what leads we received. So week 1, I generally will call them, and I'll say, and my DSP manager, she'll send me a list every Monday of all the things that, all the people I met with the last week, of all the people I need to call. And so I'll call them and I'll say, hey, it was so great meeting you. We're really looking forward to, working with you. And then I'll go into the script. I don't do that anymore though, just because I found that sometimes I'm just too busy and it just doesn't get done 100% of the time. Yeah. And so what we do on week 1 now is we created a live broadcast recording of me, essentially saying the exact same thing. So those of you who don't know what live broadcast is, it's a paid tool. It's similar to slide dial, for those of you who know that, but this is a paid tool, and it works a lot faster and a lot cooler because you can put as many phone numbers in the and so we can put, if I met 20 agents last week, we'll put all 20 agents' phone numbers in slide broadcast. It's a pre-recorded message that I already recorded, saying exactly what I would say if I called them. And we send it out, and it goes into all their voicemails right away. So that's what we do on week 1, just so they hear my voice. After that, week 2, the DSP manager calls them, introduces herself. What she does in an introduction, it's basically like, hey, this is Olivia. I work with Magiera, and he asked me to give you a call. And kind of my job, just so you know, is to really make sure that we're doing everything we can for you. So if you ever need anything, any flyers or any kind of help, feel free to reach out to me. By the way, are you working with anybody right now that we can help pre-approve for you? And she goes into that script. Yeah. So that's that week 2 call. Week 3 and 4, it's the general basic call. Week 5, we send another slide broadcast, a different recording of me, so they hear my voice again. Week 6, the DSP manager calls them and tells them about the list report. And then also asks them for business, obviously. Week 7, they generic, did you work or did you play? Week 8, sends out another slide broadcast, recording number 3 of me. Week 9, DSP manager tells them about our co-branded mobile app that we do, and so on and so forth. I won't go through it all. Basically, headphones fell out. Basically, you can do this script that I've done here, or you're going to be, we've done this enough where you're fine if you just do the generic, say the same thing every week. You're going to be fine. There's no difference.
Dude, I love this. This is a great slide. If you're listening to this and you have a way to view the slides, slide, I think it's number 22 would be a really good one to print out. So I really like that, man. So yeah. Cool. All right, Nick, we're kind of running up on our time here, brother. Let's kind of wrap this up. So what you got next year?
So basically with this strategy, someone will always be doing 100% of the time, and always be asking for business. And so in conclusion, the next role, if you can guess my next hire, what it's going to be, is I'm going to be hiring someone to actually go to the meetings for me. Because I've done this enough where it doesn't really matter who's going to these meetings. So someone can go there for you. So that's going to be the next hire. And kind of in conclusion, before you do all this, you got to make sure that someone is there to actually take in the business once business actually comes. So that LP is definitely the first hire that you need to do, or else you're going to be saying you're doing all these things and they're just not going to happen. So, always feel free to reach out to me. And, there's a lot of stuff that the Freedom Club coaches and members are already doing. And, hope this helped.
Dude, this was outstanding. This is really, everything that we teach kind of in a bottle in one place. So, you said so much. We could sit here and talk all day about this stuff. But I tell you, one of the things that you said I think was a key point, is I think you said like you hired your freedom caller in like 2 days, and your loan officer assistant or your loan partner or loan coordinator, whatever you want to call that person, you hired that person within the first week, and then you went to go hire your DSP manager within a week. You had that person. Dude, I see so let me ask you something, man. I see a bottleneck for most of the people is they take too long to build the team. So what would you say, dude, what's been your secret to building this team so fast? Is it just pulling the trigger on it?
Yeah, a lot of it's pulling the trigger, and you got to go with your gut. And you got to, so the big thing for me is I said, okay, this is what I want to do. I put a pause on everything else. It's okay, nothing's going on until this is in place. And so like right now, we need another loan partner. So I had my freedom caller stop. We're not doing any more meetings until I get my next loan partner in place. Otherwise, we're bringing more business that we can't handle. Yeah. And so, stop what you're doing. Get the right team in place.
So what, in essence, your next hire is more important than your next loan.
Exactly.
Dude, you did on. Man, I'm just a huge fan, Nick. I just got to tell you, man, you're just an amazing dude, and I really appreciate you. I appreciate all the giving back. I noticed on our private group page for the Freedom Club, boy, you step in there and really helping a lot of people out. And dude, the speed of your growth in such a short period of time is nothing short of amazing. And dude, I can't wait till we talk. Obviously we talk more often than that, but I can't wait till we talk like a year from today. And dude, I just can't even imagine what that's going to be like. I mean, yeah. And the other thing I liked about what you're doing is you're staying on track, that you go, okay, I'm ready to go to the next level. The next level is just getting more of what I'm already doing. Yeah. More help, more meetings, more Monday phone calls, more Thursday text, more Wednesday phone calls, more follow-up phone calls. And dude, you haven't even scratched, marketing to a database per se. Hell, you only been in business for a year and a half.
Yeah. So we're purchase driven. I think I've closed one refinance ever right now.
Right. Well, our goal is to increase that, by the way, because you're building up a past database in very rapid order here. So good for you, man. I'm super proud of it. And at closing 12 loans a month, you're probably already in the top 5% in the nation. And to do that in such a short period of time, and it's just a true honor. And again, I just want to give kudos to Kellen Vaughn. Dude's nothing short of amazing. Just as an FYI, and I'm sure you already know this, Nick, he went from 5 closings a month to like 60, 70. I think he had one month he did 80 in a period of a year. And basically all you're doing, man, is he already blazed the trail, and Ken Travis blazed the trail so Ken Travis blazed Kellen's trail, and then Kellen did it in record time. And dude, now you're on that same trail. It's no longer a trail, man. It's an interstate. It's a 4-lane interstate. Yeah. And brother, you're just moving through very, very, very rapidly. And I can't wait to see who you're blazing the trail for too, my brother. That's all it's all about is paying back and giving to others, which is exactly what you're doing on this call. Dude, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you carving out the time for us today.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, my man. Hey, so for all of you on here, thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you on the web.